All right, just was doing main weather rotation, tightened up within that intense band I was speaking of, and so that prompts the National Weather Service to hoist a tornado warning. And this one, it covers a lot of counties, an intersection of many counties along the Cape Fear and the Black River and the confluence thereof. This one is going officially until 1 p.m., officially southwesternmost Pender County, say southwest of Moores Creek Battlefield, so a very small area aerially around Kaintuck. Southeastern Bladen County, and that includes areas from Kelly and points south and east. Northeastern Brunswick County, so from Leland northwest through northwest and on to the county line of Columbus. Also included communities like Riegelwood, Acme, and Delco. And so the National Weather Service statement also mentioning Delco as having a good chance of being involved in the general area of rotation at 12:35. Also mentioning the Sandyfield and Freeman communities just a few minutes later at 12:45. So in a tornado warning, seek interior room shelter, as many walls between you and the outside of your structure as well. Protect your head, so if you're streaming this broadcast or you're watching on TV traditionally, turn up the volume so you can hear us kind of walk you through it. Gabe Ross with me, as he has been throughout the morning in the Forecast Center, with a street level view here as we aggregate those scans, see who's involved.
Yeah, right you are. And as noted, we have not just cities, locales here included, but also physical points of interest. So you'll notice here in the next few minutes, spots like Acme Delco Middle School included in this, the Gooseneck community, Armour, Sandyfield, East Arcadia. We've got the Cawley community, the Kelly community, and also Carvers Creek. Notice this goes a little bit beyond what that tornado warning polygon officially has, and that's not a necessity, because right now this system moving about 25 miles per hour. Should this pick up a little more speed, we want to give folks just outside of that warning polygon a little bit of breathing room right now. So if you're basically at this intersection here of what looks like Highway 87 near Northwest, if you're in Northwest, you should be in your tornado safe space as we speak. The radar rotation is noteworthy, pretty tight at this point. So safety very much top of mind there. We've got basically right to the north of Highway 74. So we'll say 74, 76, and just north there of those highways. I believe it's 87 that heads that direction.
Yes, so. And also the community of Sandy Creek on 74, perhaps not into the community itself, but at the front gate, if you will, sort of the apex of that. But I'm liking all you're saying there, Gabe, about the Northwest community. Momentarily, the way those radar scans are stacking up, that is the area of rotation. I'm seeing Sawmill Road as an area in line for that. Also, the western terminus of Mount Misery Road into the Northwest community. Make sure you're in your safe area right now. Get there in the next few seconds and let this area of rotation go by. Hopefully, it's not translating into an actual funnel connecting with the ground. But it's one of our better signatures, better in a bad way, as far as we've seen this morning. So the Weather Service warning continuing through 1 p.m.
Yep, and you notice on your screen we have some of the specifics here from the Weather Service. Radar indicated, which means no confirmed site on the ground, but in these heavy rain bands, Gannon, it makes it even more difficult sometimes to get that verification. So we're going to be looking at a lot of tools here at our disposal. One of those, of course, the base velocity product gets us some lower levels of the atmosphere to determine where some of that rotation is. Storm relative velocity a little higher in the atmosphere, and our correlation coefficient, which we call internally and to the public our debris detector. I'm going to kick that on right now. And the good news here, at least as of the latest scan, not seeing a whole lot that is super concerning. So this likely radar indicated cell, but we're not going to take any chances with it. We are very much going to stick with this and make sure that we're in our safe spaces until the system has cleared. Should be getting a new scan here, I'd imagine, within the next 30 seconds hours or so.
Good job in dialing up that debris, especially with such even a tighter signature than we've seen in the previous couple of warnings, Gabe. And it's good to see that the radar is detecting all of the same thing, which is torrential raindrops, as opposed to maybe anything with more jagged edges that would indicate debris. On our MAX 1 system, we can see, and this is to your point, Gabe, you're probably not going to get a visual on this area of rotation, say it is a funnel cloud, if you're on the lead side of it. In our MAX 1 system, we can give you that 50,000-foot view of, yes, none other, it's the problem band that we've had all throughout the morning. On our MAX 1 computer system, we can kind of move over there for some more data as we try to, wait to get that next scan. Perhaps there's an issue there, but we're going to get that new scan
what I'll
there
do. Let me
probably
go
at that same time while we're still on.
Let me just do this here on our MAX 2 system until they can punch over to MAX 1. But yeah, oof. Talk about a mess, quite honestly.
This is that same 10 to 20 mile wide band that has been punishing Carolina Beach, Boiling Spring Lakes. It may be slightly weaker, but what a high bar in terms of those extreme outcomes for a small but important portion of southeastern North Carolina, watching that situation all morning. So it is this troublemaker that sort of at an area where it sort of bends, maybe more north to south oriented and then more northwest to southeast oriented, that rotation is focusing. And you kind of see the whole situation. The parent storm system, low pressure off to the south. Many labels with this one between many of the government agencies, but it's like, hey, let's see the forest through the trees. It's an impactful system. It's offering some rotation from the parent system, and that's why this band can at times harness that and turn it into something greater in terms of those individual rotation signatures on the velocity. I'm seeing that next scan just come in. As we kind of talk you through it, these new scans come in every 60 to 90 seconds. So it's important, I think, Gabe, to show you the big view, torrential rain, an ongoing flood threat, and also intense lightning going to cause you to not get a visual on what's going on there. But eyeball test maybe a little bit looser on that rotation on our MAX 2 system.
And up near the Gooseneck community, Acme, of course, that community as well. Still want to be in your safe space. Not a good idea to emerge yet, despite the loosening rotation. Not taking any chances here. The Armour community kind of next in line as this system travels sort of parallel to this stretch of Highway 74 and 76. So heading up toward probably another intersection, I'd imagine, here in the next 5-10 minutes, perhaps at the longest, with Highway 87 as it begins to work its way probably toward the Sandyfield community, East Arcadia, all of these areas that are technically in the warning polygon. And just real quick, while we're on our MAX 2 system, we talk about how quickly these systems kind of spin up. Let's take you from, let's see, this timestamp would be 12:15. And so we're watching the progression. You can see it on your screen right here where everything's starting to take shape. These are the kind of things that we look for, right? So from, okay, now 12:20. So when we came on the air with you here, just about 12:30, boy, in a matter of about 5 to 10 minutes, that system just tightening up. And yes, much looser, mind you, compared to what it was perhaps when they issued the warning. These things spin up on a dime in some cases. So you've got to be in these situations very weather aware, even if you're not glued to the radar, being glued to something that will give you an alert, perhaps a WECT weather app or a NOAA weather radio to keep you safe in these kind of situations.
Absolutely, Gabe. And so I think as we call out Acme again, right near the apex of that rotation. So you'll very least get a burst of intense straight line winds with some of those downpours, but then the rotation maybe on the eastern flank of that. So please be in your safe area. I think it's important to talk about who's in the all clear.
Oh, yes.
Well, hard to say all clear on a day like this, but with regard to this rotation. And as we go back to MAX 1, I do want to say, based on the trajectory of this, the Weather Service will draw a polygon, and they do a great job and they take care. But because we're at the confluence confluence of 4 counties. That's why all 4 go under the warning there. This rotation signature, Gabe, I just want to say, it doesn't look like it's even going to cross into that sliver of Pender County. So if you're watching from Pender, Hampstead, and Burgaw, and you're not involved by far, and maybe the county collectively, if you're in eastern Columbus County, in those areas around Acme and Delco and Freeman and Riegelwood, you're still downstream of this. And also we're watching you in southeastern Bladen County to revisit that. If this rotation holds together, you think about it, you're not long on Highway 87 in Columbus County before, from that 74 split, before you're into Bladen County. So sort of next in line. So I just wanted to make a point about the confluence of those 4 counties, and maybe we can just kind of verbally disinvolve Pender to help spread some relief there. As I'm speaking about that, a new scan, and it looks to me that the radar signature on Max 2, the velocity scan, would show decent area of rotation just to the south of the Gooseneck community, just west of the Northwest community in Sandy Creek on 74, 76. That rotation crossing into that aforementioned juncture there of 87 and 74. A lot of businesses lined up along that, a clinic there along that stretch of 74. And then just to the north, the Riegelwood community, and drawing that cone there in toward East Arcadia as well. Let's mention you. So Acme Delco Elementary School and the Riegelwood and Sandy Field area. Please be in your safe area. One of the tighter rotation signatures we've had this morning. As we go back and scan, we've had a couple of these warning polygons so far. Haven't seen that they have verified. We've seen a ton of flooding under that one band. We've seen a ton of lightning, even a stray hail report. That's one thing that I'm heartened that I haven't heard any ground truth of the rotation connecting with the ground. There's probably a funnel, but is it connecting with the ground? That's the most important thing. No way to tell just based on that radar as it scans just a few feet high in the atmosphere. Fingers crossed it's not, but better safe than sorry as that warning polygon, the focus thereof, gets more onto the Columbus and extreme southeastern Bladen County side.
Yeah, very much a prolific lightning maker as well as this main cluster, this main patch of the heaviest rain that we've seen is pushing to the north and northwest. Let's take a look at some of the wind speeds by radar estimate, mind you, here. So we'll get at least a look here at some of these inbound numbers here as soon as it queries. So I know you got a lot of data on your screen here. This is more so to kind of help us so we can get some specifics here if there's anything that we're not particularly thinking of. But looking at that, about 60 mile per hour velocity. So that alone could well be enough to trigger a severe thunderstorm, mind you, but we've got the rotation factor here. And now we'll take a look at some of the winds, not necessarily full on outbound, but you notice much slower, 4 miles per hour. So kind of a pivot point, if you will, as this system is moving.
There's some shear there. Yeah, a ton of data there, but it was the top stat that we were looking at just to see how is this thing turning? Is it fully rotating? And is it just about doing that, especially at cloud-based level? Hopefully not to the ground. So just to give you another, again, I like the term kind of 50,000 foot view of the situation to reset. National Hurricane Center has been watching this. They structurally refuse to call this a tropical storm, which is fine. It's kind of like, what is it? What is it not? It's a storm system along the coast. As we get over to our Max 1 system, just want you to appreciate how hyper-focused. It's not even close. That one band and everything else. And unfortunately, we have the front row seats on that today, the way it has converged on itself. So giving an update on that with ongoing flash flooding. Of course, we have a ticker on the bottom of the screen. Even though it's not a full-fledged tropical storm, it was a potential. The tropical storm warning for gusts continues for our immediate coast, officially from the National Weather Service. Flash flood warnings, the biggest signature of this band. They are ongoing. So if you're curious about the ongoing storm storm situation, and you can say, I can just allay that curiosity and just sit tight. Please sit tight. And if you do have to go out and encounter any water-covered roadways, you know what to do. Turn around and find an alternate route. So all sorts of hazards there, but it is the rotation that's kind of under the hood there with that one little kink in the main band. Gabe, this is only 10, maybe 20 miles wide at most. This is amazing how hyper-local this is. But when you're under it, there's no mistaking it, and it's continuing to wobble its way to the northwest. New scan as I'm talking about that on our Max 2 system. This is 1244.
Yeah, and over here you can see kind of where, like you say, the apex of that system is located pretty much between Highway 74, 87, pretty much the Armour and Freeman communities need to be on the lookout. If you're in the Gooseneck community, the Northwest community, Sandy Creek, some of the spots we were talking about when we first came on the air here, a little after 12:30, it's going to be on the safer side now to emerge. That threat of a rotating storm overhead pretty much done for you guys for now. And as mentioned too, you see how this trajectory is likely to go, and it's going to continue to likely skirt Pender County as we head through the next several minutes. So that's generally the track of the storm, give or take, you know, a couple degrees here or there of the compass. And then you see right over here is the Pender County line. It's a very faint line, but right over here is that boundary. So more than likely, you'll be able to skirt this in the Pender County area. That said, you're still technically under the warning polygon. So if you're in a portion, let's say, of northeastern Pender County and you have a NOAA weather radio, it likely went off because it's a county-based alert system. So we want to be hyper-local here and let folks, like you said, know who's technically in this and who's on the safe end.
Yes, and even though it's by just a few hundred yards, with the Cape Fear River being the delineator there, sort of near the confluence of the Black at the Cane Tract, Pender, not involved with the rotation right now, and Brunswick, this has moved on from you. Occasionally I notice our computer has sort of a personality, and today's personality is not explicitly showing Riegelwood. And so we want to keep verbally mentioning Riegelwood because this area of rotation it's deciding to lock into the Armour community just to the west of Riegelwood. It's important to mention that as well. So along Old Lake Road, but over Riegelwood itself, basically our tightest area of rotation. Do some quick math on that. This band is wobbling its way to the northwest between 20 and 30 miles an hour. So that's going to put it into, should this area of rotation hold together, it should put it into southeasternmost Bladen County in the next few minutes. And that's why the National Weather Service given this warning some breathing room and letting it go until 1 p.m. It's just kind of an unfolding situation. That said, they usually issue some sort of a mid-game statement, and if they do issue that statement coming up in the next few minutes, I would expect that some of those aforementioned areas that are not in the threat to kind of be dropped. But we want to walk you through that on TV. In short, there is an area of rotation. Eyeball test looks a little looser than before, but we've seen, as you deftly showed, that it should just tighten up on a scan or two, but that's walking its way, it's moving its way northward and westward as if along Highway 87 between Riegelwood and the county line with Bladen.
Right you are, and yeah, still no official update, but we'd imagine some of those spots going to get dropped out of that here, hopefully before too long. Yeah, about halfway through the warning, so we should probably have some kind of update here momentarily. Let's go back to Max 1 and just get a look here at the last hour or so. You saw some of the areas that were just slammed, inundated by the rain earlier, at least picking up some welcome relief. So we're talking spots like Carolina Beach, Curie Beach, and of course eastern Brunswick County. Don't want to leave you guys out of the mix. Spots like BSL down to Southport, Bald Head Island. Reports from folks in St. James, they're seeing double-digit rainfall tallies as well, compounded with what we've had the last day or two. It may not have been a whole lot of substantial rain, but kind of a consistent nuisance type of rain, enough to where the ground's notably wet. So we're not completely done. The tap doesn't completely shut off here as far as those spots that dealt with some of the heavy rain, but I do think based on what we're seeing, the core, the worst of that, you're going to get a little bit of a break, but you're still going to have to deal with some passing showers, I think, in the next few hours
Right.
again.
And as we wait for a new velocity scan, hopefully looks better than the one before even, I cannot remember an event that had quite this personality of where so much of the area is like, what? It's just a rainy day. And then under one intense feature, it's extreme. And that band is still on the map, perhaps in a slightly weakened state from before, but that's such a high bar. So as that moves its way to the west, we need to watch that through the afternoon. You bet we vigilantly will here in the First Alert Forecast Center. A new statement. I'll let you take it, Gabe.
Sure.
Cross your eyeballs first.
So they have decided to go ahead and cancel the tornado warning for all 4 counties involved. Basically, the statement here is that the system is no longer at severe limits or no longer capable of producing a tornado. So they've gone ahead and they've canceled this. Certainly some strong inbound winds radar-wise that we'll be speaking of. So still, I would recommend just the next couple of minutes, if you're still in the Freeman, Armour, Riegelwood communities, like stay put for just a little bit. Let this get past you. I know technically it's now not under a warning, but if we take a look at our Max 2 system, you'll see
Still a little bit of a ghost of the signature, and I would say this is close. This is very close to the intersection of Highway 11 at 87 as well. So these kind of areas we're looking at. It's a great data point when the National Weather Service does cancel the warning, though. So we'll leave it there. We will stay focused on this band throughout the afternoon. Regularly scheduled programming, it occurs to me, Kim, and the control room as well, is still our news at midday with expanded coverage. I'm getting word from our control room that we're going to take a quick break, and of course we'll rejoin you with more of that regularly scheduled programming in just a moment.
Welcome back. We now have our second tornado warning of the day. This one is for areas just northwest of Leland, including northwest, the Sandy Creek, right along Highway 74. This warning goes until 1 p.m. this afternoon. That is about 31 minutes from now. Right at 12:27, the National Weather Service issued this tornado warning located over Phoenix, just north of Leland, pushing northwest at 25 miles per hour. So let's put a storm track on this, talking about where the rotation would be. Reflectivity here shows where the heaviest rain is. Also, this area of rotation would be just northwest of Leland, near the Phoenix area, pushing northwest at 25. So let's put a track on that. Talking about from here, northwest at 25. We're going to go to our local radar. And that would include Armour by 1256, if it does hold together. Northwest at 1242. Also Acme, 1249. Riegelwood at 1252. And pretty much anywhere inside of this area, this red polygon. So pushing towards the community of northwest right now. Pretty much where you see the greens butting up against any reds. That would be here north of Malmo, right along Highway 74. The rotation should pass just to the north of Sandy Creek, but too close for comfort for those. So if you're in the Sandy Creek community, make sure you are in your safe place. That would be the lowest floor of your house, an interior room, closet, bathroom, anything to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. This rotation is pushing towards the northwest area. It should pass just to the south, or right between really Acme and Gooseneck, as this pushes northwest. So right here is where the brightest rotation is. You have the greens going towards the radar, the reds going away from the radar. So we're going to draw, this is pretty much right where the rotation would be located, pushing northwest towards northwest at 25 miles per hour. Communities impacted would include places down the road in northeastern Brunswick County, also northeastern Columbus County, and southwestern Bladen and Pender counties. So this would be, let's clear this off, pretty much right here. You can see how this polygon kind of encompasses several communities. We're going to talk about the street names being impacted right now. So along northwest, that'd be Northwest Road itself, Medlin Road, and then eventually because the latest scan will probably have it just northwest of there because the storm is moving at 25. We have Port Royal Road northeast where it intersects with Northwest Road, Ellis Farm Road, Neelis Eddy Road, right towards the Acme area of Columbus County.
Yeah, and you said it was moving at 25 miles an hour, and if you look and really track it out, I actually have it on links too if you want to switch to that really quickly so you can really see exactly where this will go pretty easily. There we go. So as you can see, we can see it can start to make its way closer towards the middle of it, and it says it's moving northwest, and you're going to be watching it near northwest, actually moving northwest, and then also at Gooseneck around 1242, and then we get to Regalwood right around 1246 according to this latest track. But it might move a little further north, it might move a little further down south, so this is just an estimate of what we could expect and the timing of what we could expect as well. So definitely take this as an estimate and not the exact time. But if you are in these areas, you see your town name, and even just in this box as well, definitely get to your centermost location in your house, and also a place with no windows and also the lowest floor if you can as well, and kind of just hunker down and really until this tornado warning has expired, because we are going to be expecting to see this and right around 1 p.m.
Yeah, so the greatest rotation right now, if we can bop back over to links 1, the greatest rotation is located north of Sandy Creek. It's going to pass between Sandy Creek and Northwest, pretty much paralleling Highway 74 here, where 74 splits off at Delco in Acme, right here near Old Stage Highway, or Stage Road, excuse me, right along Old 87 Road, pretty much south of Acme near New Berlin, Delco. So if you're traveling or know someone who's traveling along NC 87 near Lewis Road and Highway 74, this is pretty much where that rotation is heading. It might go just north of that highway itself just because it kind of veers off towards the left here. But just north of here, between Regalwood and Delco, this rotation is pushing in your general direction at that relatively quick speed of 25 miles per hour. The last tornado warning we had about an hour ago now, it was also pushing at 25 miles per hour, so fairly quick moving storms today. The shear rate is picking up pretty good where that rotation would be between Northwest and Sandy Creek. It's hard to see on the reflectivity, but likely you'll get the very heavy rain first, and then potentially, if this is an actual tornado, we have to treat it as if it is because you were in that warning. That would come afterwards. So this is pretty much right upon the Northwest community. It's going to move between Northwest Road and Highway 74 towards the Acme area. Cronley Road, Old 87 Road, Neils Road, and Old 87 Road. We also have Carroll Street, Gibson Street. Pretty much any road that borders Old Stage Highway between where it cuts off from Highway 87 and US 74 and heads northwest towards Regalwood. Right now, we aren't seeing anything too indicative on our debris detector, which that's good news. We, of course, don't want to see anything that would indicate a tornado actually has touched down. But we have to, as I said, treat it as if it is an actual tornado. No confirmations or anything like that just yet. But the greatest rotation is pretty much upon Northwest. The next scan will probably show it between Northwest and Acme, just south of Gooseneck. But down the road from that, Regalwood, and then Armour. And if it holds together, East Arcadia, you are then under the gun after that, right along Highway 11 here, where it kind of intersects with Old Stage Highway, just north of Armour. Right now, if you are southeast of Northwest, so pretty much from Sandy Creek along 74 towards Leland, this rotation, or the greatest rotation, has now pushed to the west of you. So you should be good to go now. It is places northwest of Northwest, just right now on the western side of town, towards the Gooseneck, Regalwood, and Acme kind of triangle that forms there, along Neils Eddy Road, Old 87 Road, Cronley Road, and right where it borders with Old Stage Highway and 74, just east of Delco.
And right now, and you can even see that it's just completely rain wrapped, lots of heavy rain really surrounding this. So definitely don't wait until you see or hear a tornado. Definitely take shelter right now, because that's the last thing you want to do is wait around for it and then it's right over your house. That's not what you want to do, especially in this situation. But the velocity still shows that there's some decent rotation with this. Even as we look at the shear rate as well, there's some rotation following it as well as it continues moving northwest. And again, this is set to expire at about 1 p.m., but we might see that start to be extended or anything like that. But if you're in Sandy Creek, just like Matthew was saying before, it looks like you are in the clear. It's mostly just really northwest of northwest as it makes its way farther, closer towards Riegelwood as of right now.
Yeah, this is one of the storms where we have seen the storms over the course of today kind of really strengthen up as they've approached the coast and then kind of broaden out after that. They've kind of ebbed and flowed over the course of this Monday. Right now, as Jason was mentioning, the strongest rotation continues to show up on our rotation detector west of northwest, right along Northwest Road. But if you are in the Acme area, make sure you go ahead and get in your safe place. Just because the rotation is not quite to your community just yet doesn't mean that you need to wait until it's right upon your backyard. If you live anywhere around Acme, or just off of Old Stage Road where it butts up against Old 87 Road, Cronley Road, Gibson Street, and Carroll Street, you need to go ahead and make sure that if you have friends or family in that area, maybe you don't live there, but you know someone who does, be in your safe place, have them get in their safe place, make them aware that this potential dangerous storm is coming towards their community. We're not really seeing it too much, or quite as much as we did, on the velocity here. It would be south of Gooseneck and north of Northwest Road, northwest of the town of Northwest. And the shear rate is really what we're looking at right now, because it is showing the clearest indication of where that rotation would be. If you're driving along 74, or you have to go towards Acme or Delco from the southeast in the next bit, I would hold off until the storm passes. It is pushing northwest at 25. As you can see in the latest scan from the radar, the strongest rotation is now pushing towards pretty much right on Acme's doorstep. So you're running out of time to be in your safe place. Go ahead and, if you want to have the TV on, turn the volume up, or take your phone and perhaps watch us on the Storm Track 3 weather app, the live stream on there. Hopefully you can see us on there. And you can just watch us in a closet or watch us somewhere until the storm passes your community.
Yeah, and then still right now we are going to be expecting to see this hopefully start to weaken, because with these tropical or subtropical systems, we're going to be expecting to see most of that turn into water spouts and then slightly move on land. But this one kind of just formed out of, started to strengthen really as it got onto land. So hopefully this will start to weaken. But as we look at some of the storms, it is starting to weaken. But along with this as well, the National Weather Service has issued that they are saying that there's some hail in this as well. About 0.75 inches of hail has been observed by radar, so that could be also associated with this as well. But again, this tornado warning is just northwest of northwest, and you're going to be expected to see it maybe even reach near Riegelwood or even Acme as well pretty soon, just like Matthew was saying.
Yeah, so here's the rotation on the screen. Let me draw a circle again. I did earlier. I'll do it again real quick. This is, see, it's moving pretty fast as of the latest scan. Pretty much northwest of Acme at this point. So if you are from about this line and points south and southeast, even though you are still in the official polygon, you are in the clear from this particular cell. That doesn't mean that we couldn't see more cells over the course of today. But right now, the rotation we're concerned about is right along Old 87 Road, getting very close to Riegelwood. It's pretty much passing Acme right now. But places like Green Road, Forest Road, Cedar Drive, where Old Stage Road intersects with John L. Riegel Road. Also to the west of that, Cornwallis Road, near Riegelwood, Cross Lane, Burns Road, and if the rotation continues in the path it's going, eventually Armour down the road, Sandhole Road, Duber Drive. We also have Robbie's Lane, Gus Bryant Road, Emmy Brown's Place, pretty much anywhere that borders Old Stage Road near the Riegelwood community.
Yeah, and then still, the National Weather Service has not had any updates since, so this is not a confirmed tornado on the ground. This is just radar indicated as well. It is 12:41 right now. We are going to be hopefully expecting to see this expire at 1 o'clock, but if anything changes, we'll definitely let you know as soon as we know, but as of right now, this is still set to expire. And it's just like Matthew was saying before, if you're in this Regalwood area, definitely in the next 5 minutes or even less than that, we could start to see it move closer towards your area. We just saw another scan, so it's definitely a lot less than that for Regalwood. And then you maybe even looking farther down to Armor as well, you're seeing maybe some impacts from this. So even if you're just in this path, so definitely try to start preparing, or even just if you're in this red box, definitely start preparing for this as well.
And we're getting a pretty good indication of where this rotation would be. It's showing up right on our storm winds, the velocity, green going towards the radar, red is away. We're seeing the brighter greens here just south of Regalwood, right where our strongest rotation is showing up. Just north of Delco. It's going to pass near the Regalwood community, eventually Armor, as Jason was mentioning after that. If it holds together, we then have Money Hole Road, Sand Hole Road, and General Howe Highway. That moves from south to northwest, right here, Highway 11, towards Sandy Field. But right now, the rotation itself is located between the triangle of Regalwood, Delco, and Acme. This is the strongest rotation. It has shown signs over the past little bit of kind of weakening a little bit, but still seeing good enough rotation on that to continue this warning until at least 1 o'clock, unless the National Weather Service decides to do otherwise. That's the next 17 minutes. So let's zoom out real quick and kind of recap you in case you're just now tuning in. Of course, if you're back towards the Wilmington area or places like Leland or pretty much anywhere that is not seeing the bulk of the activity right now, you might be tuning in and wondering, why are we breaking in and talking about the same storm when there's nothing happening in your community? And the reason is that we want to make sure that everyone in the area is safe, no matter how rural an area might be. Even a few homes are just as important as a very populated city area. So if you'll bear with us until this warning does expire, hopefully in the next few minutes, if not at 1 o'clock itself, the rotation is still showing up on velocity, is also still showing up on the shear rate, pretty much in the same areas. And this is northwest of Delco. And I continue to repeat the same areas because people tune in at different times, so there might be people in this area of Columbus County that are just now turning on the TV and don't know exactly of the dangers that are perhaps approaching their backyard. So it's pretty much going to parallel 74 here. And then if it holds together towards Money Hole Road, Highway 11, north of Freeman, and then between Sandy Field and Armor towards the south of that. Because we have seen the rotation move a little bit, I'm going to put a storm track on this again, from where the rotation is 25 miles per hour towards the northwest. So that is 25 northwest. So we have Armor at 12:49. That is 5 minutes from now. Sandy Field, 12:56. Right around the turn of the hour at 1 o'clock. East Arcadia, Ricefield at 1:08, Zara at 1:10, and Buckhead at 1:11. Now, the last four of those are beyond the official warning time of 1 o'clock. We'll have to wait and see what the National Weather Service does, but Armor and Sandy Field, you are still within the warning time and the warning polygon. So if this does hold together and continues its forward speed northwest at 25, it would make its way towards you, Armor, in the next few minutes. So not a lot of time to get into your safe place. Go ahead and make sure that you have as many walls between you and the outside as possible. You're on the lowest floor of your house because we often see debris that can fly through exterior walls, and you want to make sure that you are having as many walls between you and the outside winds as you can. Now, I will say, on the latest scan, let me take this off your screen. On the latest scan, it does show a little signs of weakening in the rotation. That is good news. We'd always like to see these storms weaken out as they push inland. We're still seeing a little rotation near the Armor community, but not nearly as strong as it was when this warning was issued. As of now, the National Weather Service has not updated anything about whether or not they will expire this warning earlier than planned. We'll see if they do. If this trend continues, hopefully they do expire before 1 o'clock. But as of this moment, the warning still goes through 1 o'clock. So we have to treat it as if it's still going to last for the next 14 minutes. So as this storm pushes northwest, East Arcadia, Birdville, Freeman, I think it's going to pass just between all of you. But Armour coming very close to that area. And if you have to travel between Freeman and Old Stage Highway along Highway 11 here, this is General Howe Highway. You might want to hold off until this storm passes by you. At the very least, we are seeing the heavy rainfall in excess of 3, 4, 5 inches an hour at one point. And we've already seen tons of flooding over the course of today, and likely still seeing flooding in that portion of the area. Rainfall is going to add up to several more inches over the course of today, because even outside of this warning, down towards the south, Oak Island and places of Brunswick County, very heavy rain, tons of lightning with these cells. They're not quite as intense as they were just a bit ago when they were off the coast, but they are still packing quite the punch, and especially this northernmost cell here, just between Highway 11 and the Delco community. So we're going to take the lightning strikes off your screen, go back to the shear rate, and it's still showing a little more rotation than it did a second ago. It kind of has ebbed and flowed as it's pushed west weekend, and now it's trying to strengthen up again. So let's zoom in here. This would be for Money Hole Road, Wilson Drive, Sandy Hole Road, and like I was mentioning, if you live anywhere along the General Howe Highway, Highway 11 here, make sure that you go ahead and treat this as if it is a tornado and be in your safe spot.
And if you also live really northwest or really southeast of this spot that you're seeing on your screen right now, that means that the tornado is most likely past you, and that if it does touch the ground, I think you are mostly into the clear as of right now. It is moving northwest, and it's moving slowly northwest. Actually not too slow. It's still at 25 miles an hour. But we are going to be expecting to see this hopefully starting the weekend. But that latest scan actually just shows it strengthening a little bit more. What do you see, Matthew?
Yeah, as we were mentioning, it's kind of ebbed and flowed over the past little bit. As far as the storm winds themselves, they aren't quite as strong or as impressive as they once were. Still kind of, brighter greens here, southwest of Armour, corresponding with that increase in the overall shear rate. This is pretty much going to parallel Highway 74, where it perpendicular touches with Highway 11. There aren't a ton of communities after that. A lot of trees over here, a lot of empty areas.
They just canceled the warning, which is great news.
That is awesome news. So 10 minutes early, 11 minutes early, the warning has now been allowed to be canceled. So as of this moment, as you can see across our area, there are no other active warnings in effect, but there are still areas worth watching off the coast over the coming hours. So if we have any more warnings, we'll certainly break in for those. But for now, back to your commercial break.